How you doing, guys? Welcome back to the channel. As ever, it is amazing to see you. Today I want to talk about a brief or a nightclub photography shot list, and this is basically the images that you want to capture whilst you're taking pictures in a nightclub. So what I basically got to a point of doing in my career is having my own shot list of an array of images that I would provide when I would go and shoot at festivals or nightclubs. And it was a great way for me to pitch to new clients. I could approach them and say, hey, I'm a nightclub photographer, these are the images that I shoot. So I could say, okay, right, I'll get images of the acts, I'll get artistic images, I'll also get interaction of the artists and the crowd, and I could provide them a list of images that I can supply and I can take, and I can also give them examples. Now that's great from a promoter or a venue's perspective, because they can look at that range of images and say, they're the type of images we need to promote our parties or to promote our business. So it's a very useful thing to create yourself. But what you will find is when you start to shoot for bigger and more structured sort of event planners and promoters, they will basically have a shot list. They'll have a brief already, so they will give you the job, and on the day or hopefully before, they will give you a brief, and that brief will outline the images that they expect to be captured. Now that's really good if you can start to create that sort of routine and habit yourself as a photographer. So what I wanted to do is talk about the images that I gave myself a list of shooting every time I'd go into a club. And I've kind of broken them down into categories. So the first category is people, and that's basically looking at the people that go to parties. Now, for the style of photography that I do, I'm always looking for happy, energetic and unique people in the crowd, and I always want to capture them in a way where they're totally unaware of me and they are 100% their self and they're relaxed, and you can capture that moment. Because I think in terms of an image, it looks amazing, it isn't staged. You know, the worst thing is you go into a club and it's like a group of boys all looking hard, staring into a camera. Like, that's not really the greatest way to promote a party. Or you get a group of girls all duck-lipped and stuff like that. Just, you know, that's not the type of photography that I want to be doing. So I will look for people in the crowd that are unique, and I'll try to position myself in a way that they won't notice me, so I can capture those images. And then I'll also look for artistic shots of the crowd, and these will tend to be used in flash, and I'll silhouette the crowd and try to find people within the crowd that I can silhouette and pinpoint out. And the reason I want those artistic shots is, you know, they're great for Instagram and great for marketing, and they engage people as an image. So for instance, people that do go to parties, they check out the night and they can see the photos and think, oh, that's really cool, that's the sort of venue that I want to go to. So I have people, and within that category I look for energy, unique people, and then an artistic sort of perspective of people within the party. And then we move into acts. Now the acts that the way I would define acts would basically be DJs, dancers, performers, anything like that that are going to be brought in to increase the production value of a show. So if you look at places like Elro, for instance, they have a huge production value, so their acts list is huge. It won't just be DJs, it will be dancers, it will be actors, there'll be so much more to it. And what I try to do within that acts list is I look for the artist perspective. So if this is a DJ, I will shoot from behind the DJ, go into the crowd, so when people look at those images, they can see the DJ's perspective, because not a lot of people that go to parties will ever get that perspective, especially not standing up in front of, you know, 10-20,000 people. So I always try to get those images extremely well balanced and symmetrical, and try to get them at moments where a beat would drop and hands would go in the air, because I think it's a very powerful image. I'll also look for crowd view. Now the reason I use the crowd view, and what I will do is I will go into the crowd and I'll raise the camera just at sort of head level and wait for hands to go in the air. And the reason I use that image is because I think it's very engaging when people look at it, especially people that attend parties. They can look at that picture and they can visualize and imagine being at the party, because it's so immersive in terms of being from the crowd. Sometimes in some productions you can get kind of like a bird's nest or a crow's nest, and it takes you out of the crowd and you can still take great shots. Now I personally don't like that, because I want the sort of crowd's perspective. I want them looking up at the DJ, and, you know, I want that whole perspective to be captured as realistically as possible. And that's an image that I will always go for in terms of like the shoot list or the brief that I'll create. And then I also look for artist interaction. So these are moments where someone might reach over to high five the DJ, or the DJ might point to someone in the crowd, because these moments are, you know, they're absolutely priceless, and that energy and the connection between the artist and the crowd is so valuable in an image. So I'll always look for that. And then I look for artistic, so I look for the artistic, and that will be, you know, say for instance there's a dancer, and I'll give an example of this now. There's a dancer, I'll put a flash behind them, wait for them to do a power move or something, then capture that moment. And for me it's a very artistic image, and that personally for me it helps because that's the type of photography I want to shoot, so it's great for me to have examples of that within my work. But I think it also looks good in terms of promoting a party. It's very artistic, it's eye-catching, you know, it's not your typical just flash firing at a load of people and being very flat and boring. That's the list of images that I'll have for the artist. And then I move into the last category, which is what I would call commercial. Now these are really, like, they're kind of the boring part of the job, I guess, but they're the bit that have the most impact to the promoters and the venues and things like that, because ultimately they're running a business, so there is a commercial aspect of it. So you need to create commercial images that are usable for the promoters and for sponsors and brands that will be at the venue. So within that, the commercial side of it will have the venue. So I look at capturing images of the venue, especially if it has unique features. So fabric as an example, they have the fabric logo in the mesh where the DJ booth is, so capturing an image of that. Print works, capturing images of the structure of the building. Those commercial shots are super valuable to the venues, so they can not just only promote the parties, but they can also promote the uniqueness of the venue. And I'll also collect images for branding and sponsors. So say for instance at a club they only sell one specific type of drink, there's obviously a sponsorship or a promotion involved in there. So the great thing is from doing that, and this is kind of a marketing trick, if you capture images of sponsors and brands within clubs, you can then pitch those to sponsors and brands about trying to get more work from them. So you say, hey look, I shoot in the environments that you guys heavily promote your products, you know, these are some images I've shot of your, you know, promotion or campaign you've got going on in this club, you know, is there any other opportunity to sort of work with you? And you can also take those images and use them in your portfolio as commercial aspects of club photography, and that will open the doors up to being able to shoot new venues, drink sponsors, you know, vape sponsors, like all sorts of companies are always trying to get into nightclubs to promote, because there's a, you know, there's people there happily spending money, so it makes sense for companies to go there and promote. And if you can help them promote their products with your photography, it's a great opportunity to expand your, you know, your ability as a photographer to create more work for yourself. And then I'll also look at artistic stuff. So that will be looking at trying to light the venue, you know, the grand scale of the venue, using flash to make it really artistic and powerful. And that's the sort of thing that clubs, they love to use and promoters love to use, because they can put it on a flyer to heavily promote, so it's a very useful image. And then the last shots that I will always get, and it doesn't matter whether it comes at the beginning of the night or the end of the night, but it's what I call the money shot. Always going to be a shot where the headline act, for instance, drops, you know, the most in-demand tune and the crowd go wild. Like, that's what I call the money shot. Now in terms of preparing for that, the only way I can say that it's doable is understanding the music and understanding the scene. So for instance, if, you know, a DJ who's really hot at the moment, Fisher comes on and he's about to play I'm Losing It, like, you would position yourself where you can capture as much of what's going on as possible, and you wait for the moment for him to drop it, and you know that's going to be the money maker. That's going to be the shot that should be, you know, being used as the album cover within that series of images, because it's the most powerful, it's the most impactful. So they would be the list of images that I would shoot, and it's people, acts, commercial, and the money shot, and within those there's different categories. I'll brief them in the summary below, so you can kind of like copy and paste, and you can go away and you can use them, and hopefully the examples throughout this video have given you an idea, and you can align the sort of the brief with the images, and hopefully you can go off and use that to develop your photography career. And it's also really good to be able to create yourself your own brief that you use for pitching clients. So you can just, you know, send emails, you know, sort of cold call, send emails to potential new clients, and you can say, these are the list of images that I shoot and these are examples of them. And that's just a super powerful way to promote yourself professionally and hopefully get more work. So this is the last in my nightclub series. Hopefully you found it really useful. If you've got any questions, pop them in the comments below, and yeah, I wish you all luck, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care. Bye bye.